This is a program that is rated PG. So all you parents, you know, just do the appropriate thing. Moving forward now, we want to bring on our guest featured speaker. Not only is she a lyricist, poet, and songbird, belonging or a member to the international reggae band, the Infrared Rockers, she is really quite unique in how she can gather information and express it back through her lyrics, through what we'll see today, her presentation. I guess with no further delay, let's welcome a rare and precious jewel, Jahari.
Yes, greetings, in the name of the Most High. We want to say today that we are very happy to be here, and we give thanks and praise for being able to share, you know, whatever information we can with everybody present. We have a nice crowd today, a lot of old faces, new faces, but we want to have a moment of silence for the brothers that have died this week in South Africa and really all over the world, because black life is a precious commodity, and by looking at the situation today, you really can't tell, you know, because a lot of us are dying and we need to deal with that. So let's have a moment of silence. Thank you. I'm not one for long speeches, and actually I've gotten more used to singing in front of crowds instead of speaking, but we'll try to see what we can do today. I think maybe sometimes long speeches are quite presumptuous, and so I'd rather deal with more exchange between myself and the audience, because I know you probably have questions, and I think that the information might be best disseminated through a question and answer, or an African tradition, call and response sort of thing. I was privileged to be able to attend the 7th Annual Women's Health Conference in Kampala, Uganda, during the month of September. Prior to that, we spent a week in South Africa, in Johannesburg, or Joburg as is called by most of the South African natives. And a lot of things happened, and I don't know if I really have accurately digested everything still at this point, because as you continue to read about things happening in South Africa, the impact of being there takes on a new dimension every day. As I mentioned before, approximately 50 black people a week are being killed in Johannesburg, you know, and that's not all over South Africa. The loss of black life is like, it's taken an enormous toll on the struggle there. But if you've noticed that recently in the news, the sanctions, Nelson Mandela has called for an end to the economic sanctions in South Africa. And a lot of people are questioning that, whether this is the time, and we can get into that a little bit more. I don't know if you're too familiar with the history of apartheid, but apartheid means apartness or separateness. And the White National Party was established in 1948, you know. If you're also familiar with the continent of Africa and the history of exploitation and colonialism and neocolonialism, you know that the southern part of Africa was colonized by people from Holland, the Dutch people, you know, and people from that region that moved into Africa and moved into South Africa and took over the land, and not just in South Africa, but the whole southern region, places that we know now as Zimbabwe, Lesotho, all the places that are around, you know, the Horn or the Cape of Africa had been colonized by these people, as well as French, Dutch, British, as the whole continent of Africa has been sliced up and divided up. And now it's a new day. Africa is coming into herself and reclaiming herself for herself. But homelands, or formerly called Bantustans, were established in 1959, and they formally stripped black people in South Africa of citizenship. There are 10 homelands, 4 considered independent, and 6 which are not. 50% of the blacks live full-time on the homelands, or Bantustans. The other part, they're called other people are called migratory, citizens. And they live in the townships and in some parts of the cities. And they're used as a source of cheap labor. They're close enough to the cities not to be a part of the city population per se, but to be used as a source of cheap labor for the apartheid system. I'm sure many people have heard of Soweto. Soweto is a string of 32 townships that surround Johannesburg, where black people live in crowded, poor, unsanitary conditions. It's 15 miles from Joburg, and as I said, there are shacks, as you might call them, open trash and sewage places. And the houses are heated by charcoal, kerosene, and kerosene stoves. And it creates a smog that comes up out of Soweto. There are 2 movie houses and 2 swimming pools there. And there are approximately 3 million people that live in Soweto. But as I said before, it's a new day in South Africa. In 1991, a lot of the apartheid laws have been repealed. We know it's only through much struggle and much loss of life, and as well as the international pressure that a lot of us who have been fighting against apartheid for many years have brought to bear on the United States government as well as South Africa. Living in the streets of Johannesburg also, are approximately 15,000 children, which are called Malunde. Malunde are from 3 years old up, homeless children that don't have anywhere to go, sniff glue, sell their bodies, and die at a very rapid rate in a very young age. Elections are scheduled for April 1994 in South Africa. It'll be a very interesting situation. The ANC is expected to receive the majority of black votes there, though popular opinion is that the ANC can be defeated by an alliance between Inkatha and the National Party. Hopefully we can get into this later on, because some people might have questions about what is Inkatha and what is the National Party, etc., etc. Again, like I said, I don't want to presume that people understand a lot of things that I'm saying, so we want, to have a lot of questions. Also, what's happening in the townships is a very strong, again, as you know, anti-apartheid movement. And the mass line in the township is one settler, one bullet. It might seem a hard reality to a lot of people, but life in South Africa is hard. One of the most active groups also in South Africa is the Coalition of South African Trade Unions, COSATU. And as we were there, they were holding a convention. And we got to see a lot of the workers come together, mine workers, domestic workers, workers from all areas of South African life come together and actually try to plot out and plan out certain things that are really pertinent to the destiny of South Africa. But as I say, it's a new day, and the land's going to change hands, and the oppressor knows that, So they're doing everything possible to try to keep the change from coming down. South Africa has actually been made ungovernable by blacks. because there is an 80% illiteracy rate among black people in South Africa, and only 8,000 black college graduates per year. You know. So it's very interesting. People ask, well, how was it? It's hard to kind of describe and it's hard to explain because there's so many things. It's so controversial. It's at once progressive and backward. It's at once political and reactionary, or political and apolitical, as you might say. It's at once positive and negative, you know, urban and rural, you know, and all the contradictions that you might be able to think of. But we know for true that victory is near, and we know that the people will win, and we know that there will be majority rule in South Africa. You know, and we want to just send the brothers all our love and our strength and our support for what they're trying to do. So I really don't have too much to say further in terms of presentation. We want to just end by saying what they say in South Africa, amandla, which means the power, and the response is a way to will be ours. So can you help him with that? Amandla,
a way to.